Good. I'm just getting this all set up here on the screen. I'm here. Can you not hear me? You can't hear me? Check, check, checkity check. Maybe because I'm talking. I'm talking and I'm not moving. I don't know what's going on. Hello? 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 I'll leave and come back. Let me see if that works. 6, 7. Can you hear me? Everything's okay. Sorry, I don't know what happened here. No, that's what's funny. I was like, hold on a second. I mean, we are, but the only thing that's showing is the Admiral right now. While I'm getting everything all set up, if you want to go over like ground rules, I think that's something we could start with moving forward.
Minutes, followed by another 2-minute closing statement, and then a poll in chat to determine the victor. With that, though, we'll start with 2 minutes for Cameron. Right?
All right. I don't know how much I will need of that 2 minutes because I didn't really prepare any notes. I just sort of have a general like rule of thumb that I'm going to apply here, and that's as we are striving for like democratic governance around the world, bringing about the end of history as all liberals should, we will arrive at governments that are by and for the people. And so there should not be any contention about like if we silo um, responsibilities to like elements of civil society that like are unaccountable to the people, those being companies. I don't think we would I don't think we're comfortable with that even in like our kind of illiberal moment we're having right now in the United States. Mainly because companies like empower our government and lobby our government to adopt like different policies. So I don't think like they should have like a formal check in any sort of like political structure we're adopting. And then I don't think we want to like allocate them more power, uh, which I think the default is like my position right now. I think it's just like, are we arguing like positively like where it should go? I think it should just be pretty much where it is, and then if possible, like further regulate like these AI companies to like have to adhere to the government what government policy on that, and then we fight for that government policy to go wherever we want it to go to.
All right.
I yield the rest of my time.
Nice, nice. All right. 2 minutes over to Costello. Time starts
Yeah.
now.
Hey, thank you. No, so I think we're actually in a really special time in human history. You know, AI is not just we're not just in a revolution, but I think we're on a particular stage of this exponential growth of technology. And I don't think governments are equipped for that. I don't think most governments are. I think the US is uniquely equipped because we are democratic and companies that understand the the time that we're living in and are helping advertise it and market this new state of the world that we're adhering to. So, part of my claim sort of depends on, you agreeing that this future economic techno state that we're headed towards will happen. And once we agree there, then we talk about the government's job in that new world. Um, Obviously, the biggest concern that I think we have is you can't put AI, you can't give AI to one single person or one single entity or one single community. Um, the government, the AI companies are driven by profit and motives that are selfish. And so that's their Achilles heel. The government, however, is slow and bureaucratic and misunderstands just sort of by nature of government. They're not, tech experts. So the government does need to be involved, and we need an administration that really is techno centric to some degree. So that's why I like the current admin. So yeah, it's a two-party game. Let's go.
All right. All right. We'll be going into the 35-minute open discussion. For a little bit of background and stuff, the crux where I thought of this topic was the start of the Iran war, where I forget the AI company, but the U.S. government was trying to use it in certain ways, and they found it disagreeable. So that was a little background for this topic. But yeah, here's a 35-minute open discussion. Have at it.
All right. So I think we can actually just begin with more of that context. So like, where do you stand on with this like Anthropic, like splitting with the Pentagon on that? I agree with like their principles of why they split. I don't know if I agree 100% that like, that should be the way of things. I think I would just rather be more comfortable with a government that wasn't ordering around AI companies to like let our government do like kill orders without human intervention. Like that's just insane. Yeah, where do you stand on like the Anthropic
Yeah.
Pentagon split?
Yeah, Anthropic I think is a unique AI company. They're led by Dario Amodei, the CEO, and even before he started Anthropic, he's had real, important concerns about the future of AI. And I think Anthropic lends more towards his personality of just being um of not wanting to take as much risks, not excited by, America's new like hegemony, which is what I think also these AI companies are fighting for, right? And Jensen of NVIDIA talks about this. how we really do want America has to be number one in AI and chips and technology, period. Full stop. As an American, you have to believe that. So we're on the same side fighting about how to best be number one and how to stay number one. And and Anthropic doesn't necessarily have that principle aligned. And that's why Anthropic is the only company that has had this issue with the federal government. Right now, our administration is sharp to the extent that they're willing to call this out publicly and make it, a public fight among Americans. And I think that's what's new. But this Anthropic, the sense that Anthropic is necessarily the good guy and the Trump admin is necessarily the bad guy, I think is just not true when you dig into the details.
Okay. I
Oh,
would
really?
like to then.
The eating tactic? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, dude. I had my pizza ahead of time, so I don't have to
The
leave
pizza
for it.
tactic,
I
oh,
already
no.
have my pizza ready to go.
Mm.
Look, I think I'm starting to get a sense of like just how wide the gap is between your perspective and mine. I would almost borrow like some language from like Sam Hyde on this, even though I don't agree with him politically whatsoever. I would borrow the language of like, what do we have to become in order to like beat our adversaries? Like, do we even remain something that like Americans want to be a part of? If we're like lending, like if we're saying like the AI is going to be operating or like drone swarms with like no human intervention, they're going to be able to like execute kill commands, like they're able to be used in like surveillance states without the need of like human intervention whatsoever. Like, is that the America that like Americans will want to defend? And maybe you just disagree that that's even
Yeah.
like something to be debated.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Yeah.
take on
So
that?
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that's not what's going to happen, right? So right. So it's what I mean by America being in front is I'm talking about essentially militarily, right? And so where America gives way to being, the second most powerful military is when America has to fall in line behind now the new power on a global stage. So if you agree that America, that the U.S. dollar should be the currency of the world, democracy is the pillar of democracies, right? American culture is one that's envied throughout the world. Our economy is the best, partially because of the values of the people that came here when we started, but the ongoing struggle that we've overcome, right? I think civil rights is our biggest struggle. I'm so proud of our country for that. And in 2026, 99% of Americans agree that was a positive thing, and we did that together. We did it right. We did it properly. And so, as as an American, I do believe America is the best country, and I would just hate to cede our technological prowess to China. And I'm really not saying anything more than that, right? No, we can't have AI deciding who to kill autonomously. Absolutely not. I don't think anyone agrees with that, right? Anthropic,
Well,
OpenAI,
let's go to your debate opponent, Casual. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I would not want to see that like whatsoever. But like, okay, then I just because we're getting at like sort of like a value statement, like a lot of them, and I don't know how they relate. I'm giving you some grace because like we're both kind of fresh here. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say like this though, that like when you say we have these values of as Americans that we value these things, that means that when it comes to these hard decisions about how we innovate, we are like filtering through those values. Like we are asking ourselves like, okay, yes, we're going to have our leading edge in technological development. We're not necessarily going to like empower our government in ways that will now I feel like I'm like, because you're adopting a weird stance on this, I feel like I'm shifting the ground beneath me and we're going to end up on the other side of this. Yeah, I don't think the government should just be allowed to like augment their power by like having a bunch of AI. AI is what I would call like a force multiplier, where like a very small extreme minority of people, if they have the will, they can set AI up to just do the work of like hundreds of people. There's no mass movement. It's like it's AI itself is like anti-democratic, just fundamentally, because you can have a mass movement effect without actually having to recruit and convince like a mass movement of people to follow you. So that's where I'm like skeptical of AI being involved in anything with the government, because then it means that you can operate a surveillance state without any human intervention needing to actually like sign on with a social contract to that. And then if you're involving it in the military, I mean, there's no like we are the most ethical. We, the United States, are the most ethical military on the planet because we are a volunteer army, and those volunteers are going to engage in warfare in ways that are like upstanding and moral. If not, they're going to be held accountable. Like we rely on all these checks, and if we fall short of that, then we know that's a moral failing, and we can hold our people accountable for that. But if you bring AI into this equation, it doesn't become a who's going to watch the Watchmen. It's that like there's no one watching anything up there, and so it's like I think you agree, like principally on all these things, why AI should probably remain outside of the government. I think if we were living in better times, I would be able to like levy the accusation at this administration that they're misappropriating AI, but they're also like, I don't. We're in a weird spot right now where there's no one that I would trust with the keys to this. So I'm okay with it being presently divided between like the responsibilities between the company and the government. But like I came in with the sort of idealistic statement that like if we win in 2026, if we win in 2028, the Democrats, then we will have a government that, yes, might not be as informed on AI, might not understand like its full range of applications to like make our lives better, but they're going to be skeptical. And I like healthy skeptics in our government. I think that's like where you need your government to be on any new technology. And that's who I would trust with the keys to AI at that point. When we reach that point, then I'm okay with the government like holding the keys. What's your thoughts on like that?
Yeah. Hey, so that was great. Thank you. Um, I'm a lot more clear-eyed on your stance now. This is so I've been studying AI for a couple years now. I have a past in computer science, and I think that the term artificial intelligence is actually a misnomer. I think it's a bad classification for what this technology is. It is not intelligent in the sense, in the sense that humans are intelligent. It doesn't have will, it doesn't have motives. What it is a large language model trained on a data set, right? And so
Right, and it's predicting like the next best word to say like at any point, and it has the veneer of intelligence. It's not actually intelligent,
right? So in this world, how powerful can this word predictor be? Like all this word predictor is a tool for someone who knows what to ask and who has an appropriate or who has an approximate idea of what a good answer looks like. The AI is not going to give you the perfect answer or even a good answer the first time. You're probing it, and there's a sort of a prompt science. I know this word prompt engineer came up, and I think it's important because these language models do really give you what you put into them. And if you can put into them something very strong, it'll just multiply your ability. And so as a software engineer, I have seen this firsthand. In the last 18 months, I have become the world's best software. So like this is, and this isn't hyperbole either. If I had
I'll take your word for it on that. Yeah.
If I had ChatGPT today and I went back 3 years ago, I would be, or 2 years ago, I'd be the best software engineer the planet has ever seen. No one would understand how good or how I was doing what I was doing. It would be impossible. It would be a magic trick. So this is what happened. In the last 3 years, my skill as a software engineer multiplied by 10. Okay, and so what does that mean for me? My life has completely changed. I've launched some apps in the App Store, iOS, Android. Why? It's fast. I build apps for my brother. My brother wants to bet with Polymarket, so I can build him an app with the API. He's making money instantly. This takes me days as opposed to months, right? And so I'm building custom apps for literally every person in my life.
Yeah.
I have
Yep.
improved them
And
economically by 100, and this is the power that the government needs to utilize for the sake of the American people at this point.
now I want to like cut in there because I don't think that the government is using this in like that what and I'm not insulting you with this, but that's a relatively harmless application for AI. What
No, it
government use
isn't.
of AI looks like
It's
is
not.
that like it well I in the big context of it, yes. Like you're
Okay.
not using it to like police, you're not using it to tax, you're not like ultimately you're right. AI is used however the people like want it to be used for. They're prompt engineering. But also that means that like what do you do with those people? And there are plenty of these people, you know them in your own life, that think that AI is intelligent and can actually make decisions that like they're not prepared to make. Like they can give themselves a competency that they actually don't have. And they can bring from AI a confidence in things that they just should not have confidence in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
To
when
one
when
second.
when Trump put together his like tariff regime using like just a generated like equation that was just putting together like the trade deficit. When Pete Hegseth is stringing together sentences with AI generated prompts that are like slam poetry more than actual like statements I would expect from a Defense Department like guy. Right, much less the Secretary of Defense. When we're using AI to tell us and sift through data from the Israelis and telling us if this girls' school is actually a girls' school or if it's an Iranian military base. These are the applications of AI. And it's not going to be that like the government will somehow get to the bottom of fraud at the with Doge using this. It's not that they're going to use it to just find efficiencies and like hire less employees. Like even that is like worrying, but again relatively harmless so long as the services remain the same. What we've seen them use it for and confidently use it for is things that actively harm other people, if not American citizens. And I would just caution against that, like to not be so uh
Headed.
foolhardy in
Okay. Yeah.
embracing it at the government level, much less like in private societies, like unaccountable to anybody. We're talking about what is it? Surveillance pricing. That is all done through AI. That
Yeah.
is just a toxic thing in
Yep.
any market.
Yes.
Regardless of like what you because there's less and less consumer power with that. And you normally that kind of surveillance state, whether it's run by the government or by the people, would need people to do so to sign
Yep.
on. But any
Yep.
company, regardless of size, can now just like undemocratically like augment their power 10 times over with these large language models. And I don't like that world whatsoever. And it's
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
subjective like statement of that, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from with that. Where it's
To
just
step
like
in, yeah, to step in for one second and bring this back in. I get like a AI or the it might not be the right terminology and shit. But for the example given of like the Iran war and the military trying to use Claude and stuff for those ways, that's more so the context of like even though the terminology might not be like it's not true AI, it's still being used in those ways and like who should have control, the tech companies or the government? To bring that back in a little bit.
Yeah. 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 So the, that's an issue. So AI. So I want to stipulate that AI is absolutely dangerous, and it is dangerous because it is powerful. I think those are the same point. So when I made the point about me becoming a 10x engineer, what I'm saying is that I've become 10x more economically valuable. And so what we want to do is give these tools to all Americans, right? And when it comes to national security, the government should be the first priority in terms of utilizing or maximizing these tools. Yeah. When you say AI was used to bomb the girls' school, or when you say AI was used to write Pete Hegseth's, those are bad. That's bad data. Those are bad actors, bad prompt engineers, bad prompters, bad people with bad things going in using AI dangerously. The girls' school is not something that's funny. It's something I have thought about every day since. Um, if an AI tool makes that mistake, right, I would imagine that AI tool and the owners and the operators get are removed from contractorship, right? So there are going to be bumps in the road, but I think the core principle I have is that the United States government should use it to the best of their our ability. And I haven't talked about like why America should win this tech war over China, but you brought mass surveillance, and that's part of it, right? Like if China if China comes out with a breakthrough with AI tomorrow, and then and right and they we assume they get the chips to build them too. What does that say about the global mass surveillance state that's then going to be immediately implemented by the CCP, right? Like every day you wake up, you're glad that the U.S. has the hegemony here because the actors across the pond, if you put the binoculars on, you can see what they're doing today with their AI systems. And so even in that, there's an arms race, right? From that perspective, right? So
Yeah, and to be clear, I think that like if you hate the Chinese mass surveillance state, then you should currently hate the one that we're operating here in the United States, which is like corporate. It's all corporate. Like I like
huh?
you're
In
it's
what way?
passive,
Mass
yes, but
mass
like
surveillance.
I'm telling
No,
yes,
the
mass
Chinese
surveillance from
mass
companies.
surveillance state is on a whole, like on a principally whole other fundamental level. All
You can
right.
have that principal disagreement with me, but you cannot deny that, like in reality, the like every company that you're going through for like Google, even in these Discord calls, like there is just metadata getting scraped at all
No,
times,
that's open
and your
source
and your
intelligence.
preferences,
No, no, no.
no, your preferences are
No, that's
getting
open
collected
source
at
stuff.
all point, and they're
Yes.
advertising you in very toxic
No,
ways
no,
that
look,
even
we
like
agree. I'll tell you what happens. We agree to the terms of service to give our data. We use the services for free. Google Maps uses a lot of data and it uses a lot of computation and it uses satellites. You're not paying for it. What gets paid for it is your data, and that's what you agree to use it. You don't have to use it. All right. The
again, you can
other
have a
data
principled disagreement about that, but that's what happens when you put it in the hands of companies. Can we at least agree on that?
that companies
If
use your
if
data to give you better services.
Okay, and then and not only that, but they're having an AI sift through it and then telling the company like, yeah, these are all the preferences this guy has at
Right.
every waking moment of the day.
To
And
improve your
like
service,
that's
right?
something.
You don't have to use
Uh,
you don't have to use the
do we
company.
agree what
And
it means to improve your service? Because I think these companies
yes,
think that the bottom line is what's
yes,
improving their service. How can we get better
yes,
revenue and cash flow from these apps?
right.
Right?
So
They don't have your
there's a
interest at heart
paradox
because they're
here.
not a Democrat. No, there isn't a paradox. It's that their alignment of values that these companies have is not the same as what we have as like citizens. It's just not.
No, there is
And if
this this is where the paradox is the more a company knows about you, the better it can serve you. So you're giving up. You are literally
potentially,
giving up
but they don't actually
privacy
have
for
to.
convenience. There, it's a slider there. It's like less convenient, no private or all privacy. No privacy, more convenient. And we as humans, as a civilization, or I guess as Americans, are deciding where we want to be on the scale. And it turns out that more convenience is preferable. I don't know what to
If you
say.
had to poll like if you had to poll like just like everyone watching this in the like the Discord call, do they like have a like a I wonder if they're like how they much they would agree that like yeah no I explicitly agree to like the terms of service versus like in order to use some of these like services that are like maximally valuable for my
Yeah,
life, I am like basically coerced into signing on to
yeah,
some terms and conditions that like if I had the choice I would opt out of. Like
yeah. Well,
you
you
at
know
least
what?
agree it like that,
No,
right?
no. I agree that the terms of service is so I run companies and so I have to play this game. And yes, it is a game. You need like a different page for the privacy has got to have a URL and the terms has to have a URL, right? And it has to say certain things about what you're going to do. It's a game. We get it. No one reads it, right?
Mhm.
But I think the alternative, which is forcing people to read it, is also not the solution.
Well, let's not like mince words here. The alternative is not that like we force them to read it. The alternative is that like we regulate it. And the alternative is like when you regulate it, like you can't just shove anything you want in there. Like the
Okay.
government is the watchdog that is making
Yeah.
sure that like you're
Right.
not doing some very nasty consumer practices like in your terms of service that people basically have no choice but
Yes.
to sign on for when they're using Google, when they're using like
Yes.
Twitter or Discord, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. And
There's a
so,
reason why we regulated work contracts as well, because
yeah.
just
Hell
because
yeah.
every available employer to a person in an area agrees that they're all going to have like a we get to kill your wife fund or you know that line in the
Wait, what?
contract doesn't mean you actually can put that in the contract. Like we regulate these things
Oh, okay.
because yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, look, yeah, of course it's already this is part of why America is so good, by the way, is because not only is it regulated, but our regulations ultimately come from the people, right? Come on, let's go. That's why America's got to stay on top. We cannot succeed our place on this global stage that we earned by winning World War II. I want that Pax Americana, right? I know that word's been hijacked, but I'm a Roman history guy. The 1945 state of America, where we ran the Navy, right? We ran the skies, right? We can topple dictators. I want that to last as long as possible until our democracy crumbles. Now, if our democracy
At least
changes
for my
until the day
generation, at
after,
least until I go in
yeah,
the grave, like
no,
yeah.
no, no, no,
And
dude, no, no,
then
fuck
it
no.
can fall apart.
Bro.
Hell no. I disagree with that. I care about the Americans, all the Americans in the future, and ultimately all the people of the planet. Because you know what I think? This is my like weird take is, guys,
Your hot
one
take.
day, yeah, this is a hot take, guys. One day we're gonna wake up to some other people coming from a different place, and we're all gonna have to band together, guys. We're gonna need China and their nukes, and we're gonna need Russia and their nukes, and we're gonna need to point them at the goddamn bad guys, right? So that's what's gonna happen eventually. So we got to get our shit together, right? Right now, America is the captain of the basketball team, right? Kobe.
Glorp will come from the sky, so we will need to have the United Nations band together. I
No,
completely
I
agree.
mean,
Now,
yeah, I mean, come on.
no,
I
but just to
don't disagree with
want, like, bring it back a bit, just like just a tad, right?
that.
I
Okay.
think that like we have that then having heard what you said just now, I think there is some room for agreement about like what makes our country great. I just
Yeah.
wonder like then how do those things that make our country great guide you to just writing off like these important value questions when it comes to like AI and like who guards the watchman? Because again, I
Who's
think that you're sort of downplaying like how we didn't outsource the bomb to private companies. Like when we had to develop the nuclear weapon to fucking eviscerate Japanese cities, we didn't outsource that to AIs or just industrial companies that could promise the bomb within a few years.
No, we did.
We
We
put that
outsourced
shit.
it to
We
our
put that.
professors. Yeah, we did. We outsourced it. The
Well,
government
well,
didn't do it.
no,
The government didn't
we
make
also
the
put them
bombs.
under like military watch, and we made sure that they couldn't like leak
Yeah,
those
it was
secrets to
it
our
was
enemies,
wartime.
and like
It was like
we were
literal
collecting up
wartime.
scientists from around the world. It wasn't just American scientists, so we worked hand in hand with our allied
No,
partners.
it
Those
was
allied
American.
partners, which are determined by the American government, the American State Department. We like there were like there was a system that we used to build the bomb that
Yep.
doesn't like and if the AI is the bomb for this next generation, then like why aren't we treating that seriously? Why aren't we putting that in-house? Like why would we outsource it to a company that
Yeah.
ultimately doesn't have any accountability
Yeah.
to the United States,
Yeah.
even if they
Great
principally
question.
say that like, oh yeah, for the moment we're
That's a great
all on
question.
board with the American Pax Americana project,
Yep.
you
No,
know?
that's a great question. Yeah. So the instead of comparing it to the atom bomb, just compare it to the military industrial complex that maintained America's supremacy from 1945 thereafter, right? Boeing, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics. What we have is in after 1945, there were 50 defense contractors, and we consolidated them to five because we thought five were the pure optimal like market conditions per the size of these companies to compete against each other to create the best weapons for
And they
national
were
security.
wrong. It led to cost overruns like that we're
No,
still
no, no, no. We have
experiencing
the
in
best
our
military.
military
No,
budgets
no.
today.
Listen,
No, no, but the cost of
listen.
running that
Hold on.
military
I
has
wasn't
only
done.
grown because of the lack of competition
That's
driving down prices. But I'm familiar with this.
no,
I let you speak on that because
no, no.
obviously
I
you
didn't
need
get
to
to
hear
finish
it,
this
but
point.
that's wrong.
No,
Fair
this is
enough.
the
You can
point.
finish.
No, this is the point. Like the reason why the United States has the best like technology, and so by technology, I don't just mean like missiles and rockets and airplanes, even though we do. I'm explicitly attributing that to the market dynamics of private companies. That's like I guess the point. And so Boeing and OpenAI, right? General Dynamics, Anthropic, Google or Google's Gemini, right? These that's the equivalent there. And so you almost have just the perfect amount of companies who are strong and who are well funded, right? The government included, to really compete to make sure, and it really is at the end of the day about having the strongest technology. Like the government wants that, the American people want that. So we should be talking about how to best achieve that if you were to take an example, I would use the military-industrial complex as proof that capitalism and 600,000 men companies competing for the prize is what it's going to take. Now, if you have a better solution, everyone wants to hear. We all do.
Yes, so I will just say like the reason why the military industrial complex was very like valuable is because we won a war on our industrial scale without breaking the bank. And just in maintaining our peacetime dividend, we have like exceeded our deficit like many times over. And the military budget does not deserve to be as high as it is, largely because we downsized down to like a pleuropoly of like the top defense contractors. There's a reason why like my only defense contractor in the state of Virginia that like I give a shit about is like Newport News Shipbuilding, and they were one of those that kept open. But I won't lie that like yeah, the contracts just were only fed through them, and our shipbuilding capacity across the United States has suffered as a result. Like that's just very clear. Like we have to go through like only a few silos in order to get our military equipment, and that breaks the bank. Like if we're talking about like getting the bomb, like in this current military industrial base, like we would be talking about they would be talking about like how they could like nickel and dime the federal government and their infinite like war chest, like knowing that that's how like supply and demand works. If you have a unlimited demand for this thing that's going to be the future, like determining the future hegemon of the world, these companies will squeeze you dry. Like and we did not get the bomb off of that. We got the bomb off of like the work of our scientists, which is a very democratic thing, and the work of our government, like state state sponsored research. Like that's it.
Sure. Okay. So I mean, I started by saying the U.S. government and these AI companies should work together. That is what they're doing. The first question was about Anthropic. I answered why Anthropic pushes back against the government. Where exactly do we disagree here? Like, other than we should be careful and it's dangerous. It's absolutely dangerous. We should be extra careful.
Well, it depends if you agree to the following statement. Does the government hold the keys to like the AI? Are they a regulator that you would welcome? Like, does the government have the final say over AI and like what direction it takes? Like, if it's gonna like where the like companies are gonna be based at? Because at that point, you're just saying we're running a state capitalism model, which I don't think anybody like would say is a very liberal thing. But like, if you're saying that like, yeah, I would allow companies to have the keys to AI, but they're always accountable to the state, then you are just like you're just admitting that we're running like our country like we're running China. Like that's their system they use.
The government. So of course the government controls the companies, right? We are all under the government's, and so we agree to the system. And so I don't see the government as an oppressor.
Well,
I see the government as a
system. So if we agree,
no. Okay, well hold on. I see the United States government as a representation of the will of the American people, right? And so that extended. All right. The government has the final say. The people have the final say. So, OpenAI has to do what the government says. Absolutely. The government's number one priority is national security, and that comes before fucking rights, like human rights almost, right? Like national security is the government's job. That's what they should care about. That's what I think this conversation.
Well, I mean, if you as an individual have that like order of operations there, I mean, that's okay. But because we live in a democracy, that your preferences are going to interact with everyone else's preferences, and the government and the will of the people will steer the direction of AI. But you agree with that, right? Okay, that is the central question. Who owns the keys? It's the people through the government that we operate democratically based. I win.
Yes, sir. You got it. And that's what's been happening. That's what we've been saying. So everything is fine. I think the reason why Trump won Silicon Valley in particular, which got him a lot of funding, which got him Joe Rogan and everyone else, was because Trump stands on AI here, right? And so the Silicon Valley has a bunch of power, and we live in a democracy, and they threw it at where they thought was the direction the country should ultimately go. And I can tell you, sorry, my mouth is dry. That was a principled vote. They voted for Trump on a national security basis through the understanding that the Trump administration understands this principle. that AI and national security go hand in hand, that China has their foot on the gas. We cannot take our foot off the gas. We need to double down, budget be damned, right? Double down, but definitely be careful, right? And so the Democratic, I still think the Democrats don't really understand this part of technology. I wish they did, because maybe I could consider voting for them because Trump doesn't read a history book. God, the only president doesn't read. God. But I can't vote for the Democrats because my country might be taken from underneath me because, guys, China, like, watch a China documentary after this. China, when one guy can tell the entire country what to do, that is a sort of advantage, right? That is when you talked about the comparison, the comparative analysis against a democracy and an authoritarian system. Efficiency is on their side, right? And so we have to account for the fact that they are going to be more efficient in this race, and it's a race that we cannot lose at the risk of all of our stakes.
Casual,
To be
what's your take on
clear,
that?
like my take on that, because this is
Yes.
makes me laugh at this point. I mean, I think I think we need to stop catastrophizing about China, because ultimately we've seen it with the fascist states that came before them. They claim to get the trains running on time. They had to do that as like an authoritarian government that, like, their mandate relied on saying that the trains always ran on time. And part of the issue with these fascist governments, whenever they arise, even here in the United States, is that they always have to claim we're on top. They always have to claim that, like, they're in the driver's seat when, like, they're not. And they're
China's not
vulnerable
fascist.
to every shock that they're vulnerable to the same shocks that democracies are. They're vulnerable to the same inefficiencies that democracies are. But the issue with any authoritarian government is that
Thank
they'll
you.
always, like, create a knowledge gap between the people and what's actually happening, and that makes it really inefficient. Okay, China can claim they're having
Journalists.
year-over-year GDP growth, right?
The
But, like,
journalists
the
tell you the
states,
truth, not the state, obviously. You look at what journalists are saying, journalists on the ground about what's happening in China. Look, you can't
yeah, what
deny this
journalists
point.
are
The
allowed to
point is
report the
that
truth,
an
and then the
authority,
journalists only can give the people the information if they have access to the information. What happens when the
what?
US kicks out, like, all of our journalists from the Pentagon? There's a reason why they do that. They don't just do it for the lulz. It's because they want to limit what information these journalists have on our military operations. If the Iran war is actually going as planned, if it's or if it's, like, quickly escaped
No,
us, like,
that's not why
this is the
at
kind of,
all.
well, okay, if you disagree on that, then, like, we have
No,
like a
that's
bigger
not
gap than I
why.
thought. But, like,
Like that. No, look. The
no,
American
but
media
authoritarian governments are
apparatus is
weak. You agree
strong.
that, right? They are
The,
weak. They aren't just efficient. They're like
no,
they're
how are they
scared
weak?
of criticism
No,
because they have to pretend to be strong in order to have any, like, government.
no, they
Whereas
no,
the
they are
U.S. government
strong.
will always have a
Xi
they will
Jinping is
the U.S.
strong.
government will
He's
always
not
have a
pretending
mandate
to
to
be
rule because
strong.
our
He has
mandate.
the
1 minute.
loyalty
1
of the
minute.
entire government. Xi Jinping is not pretending to be strong. He has the loyalty of the entire government. And the point I was making is that when you have the loyalty of the entire government, and
He has the
then
fear of the entire government. That's not the same as loyalty. And he doesn't have the love of the people of China. He has the compliance of the people of
he
China.
has the
Here in the
loyalty
United
because
States, regardless of what happens, regardless of how our GDP growth actually plays out, like, there will always be a mandate for our government to continue on existing. Like,
okay,
and
I
that
think
is something you cannot take away from us. You can take
yep,
that mandate of heaven away from China if they have a
yep.
bad economic downturn that's sustained over a long time. So they will never ever admit to that in a million years, and they'll never admit to being behind militarily with the United States. All these things that could undermine their will, like the will of the people to keep them in power. All of these things they have to obfuscate. And if you fall for the propaganda, and if you fall for the fear factor, and you overinvest into these things that don't make our lives better, that do actually undermine our strength of our people to, like, activate and engage in society,
All
because we're
right.
chasing
That is
AI rather than
time.
improving our well-being,
That is
then you're just
time,
gonna fall
casual.
behind. W.
All right.
W America.
W America.
W America. True.
What does
All
W
right.
mean?
Win.
Winning.
Win America? Is that a
Yep.
phrase?
That's a win that has been given to America. I've given them
Oh,
it.
got it.
All
Okay.
right. Closing statements. And then we'll be doing a poll in SideChat to see who the victor was. 2 minutes for casual. Let me know when you're ready.
Oh. Yeah, I think I just want to, like,
There you go.
give an audit of like that debate that just happened now. So we agreed like substantively that like the government will have the final like keys to the castle over AI. I then tried to maneuver this into understanding like if we agree that like the democratic system should value like accountability, like democratic values in AI versus like innovation for innovation's sake, since he brought it up a couple times. And when we had basically agreed on that as well, I then moved on to like, well, why are we even like focusing on AI being like the next nuclear bomb? Why are we so worried about the China like getting ahead of us? And when we agreed, or we didn't end up agreeing on this, but like I wanted to make the point that authoritarian governments like the Chinese should not really be like a long-term strategic threat for the United States, because while they can like uh, champion like some short-term gains against us, ultimately it's just our own like resting on our laurels that's to blame. We do need to shake ourselves awake and like actually invest in the people of the United States in a meaningful way, so that way our real strength, the people at large, can like engage in all these ways in the economy. They can fuel our engines of growth. We can have more kids. We can have like an improved birth rate, so because we aren't struggling to actually pay for the childcare of these hypothetical children. We can go on vacations and have like healthy families, all these things. Like the future, the sooner we get to that, then you're gonna have like you're gonna shut down all question of like why we're like struggling compared to China, because our success will be so unambiguous that it will be impossible for anyone to like champion China as like a leader in anything. So yeah, that
All right.
and AI is just a distraction. But if we're
Yeah.
gonna win, it's gonna be through the government
I-
and the democratic government of the United States.
All
Definitely.
Yeah.
right.
I agree with that.
All right. Now over to Costello for your 2-minute
Hey,
closing statement.
yeah,
Time starts now.
thank you. So, gosh, this is the criticism that people give to Americans abroad, and you really do have to meet people from abroad to understand this. It's like America's been in this first place position culturally, economically, militarily for so long that we can't even imagine what it would be like not being in just complete first place dominance. Like you go to these other countries, you turn on the TV, it's just American things, right? American ideas. They've got Crips and Bloods and The Simpsons, and it dominates their culture. Like this is part of what Iran hates about America, is that American culture tends to seep into everything, and Americans are completely oblivious to this. So look, if you lose the AI race, you lose economic dominance, coding dominance, design dominance, logistics dominance, law dominance, right? GDPs are going to be massive, so there's like that like compounds, right? They can create new industries, they can dominate global markets, supply chains. The United States has had this leverage for a long time, and I think our Constitution is uniquely special in that it just tries to be fair, and I think we try to be fair as Americans and through this like democracy thing, this government thing. So, like I said, you if you lose economic dominance, you lose military and like intelligence dominance, right? Cyber warfare, they win. Hacking, they win. Intelligence analysis, they win. Deep fakes, propaganda. I mean, I just don't understand why Americans are so foolhardy when it comes to China. Just
That
don't take
is
China's
time.
word for it. All right. Hey, thank you, man.
Yeah, of course. That's all for. We'll be doing a poll in side
right.
chat to determine the victor. Uh, I do have a question for you two, if you guys would be down for it. We could, after the poll, we could bring in callers and have you guys talk with people in side
Oh,
chat.
that'd be cool.
I could be very
Okay.
funny and say no, but I'm down.
Okay. For this, we're gonna have 5 minutes for each caller. I'm actually gonna stop sharing my screen for a sec, so see if Sophie can share her screen because she's also streaming this. This is being streamed and recorded for everyone to know.
And then just so everyone can know whose names is whose voices, I'm casual. This is I'm
Casual.
casual. Hi.
And then Costello, yes. Anything else? Trying to think. Yeah, polls inside chat. Give it a few minutes. Sophie, what'd you think? What'd you think of that debate?
I thought it was very interesting. I'm going to admit I didn't know how spicy AI could get us. So
True.
that was pretty good. Yeah, I liked it. Just I think it's a very important conversation to be happening right now, given that, I was actually putting a little bit of faith in companies like Anthropic, who were seemingly butting up against what Donald Trump's administration wants to do with their platforms. But then just today, we saw that Anthropic went ahead and is starting to, talk with the White House about sharing their Mythos platform. And so, what little hope and faith I had has been uh, snatched and yoinked right back. So just FYI, everybody, there are LLMs that you can get that will run locally on your machine. So if this is a concern for you and you're thinking, okay, do I have to work with Gemini or do I have to work with Claude or ChatGPT? Check out Llama 3.2, Mistral, Quinn, DeepSeek, Gemma. There's so many that you can run locally. In the meantime, just yeah, we'll just have to see what the powers that be have in store for us if we go the Skynet route or if there's some measure of guardrails or controls that will
True.
not make this the next nuke. So yeah,
29, 30 votes. Can we get 35? We'll give it another minute. But in
35.
the
They're at
meantime,
35. They're at 35.
30, 31, 31. But yeah, we'll give it another minute. But in the meantime, I will say, uh, hey, people that we bring up, these guys came last minute, did a solid for me. So, give your criticism.
Can we get these mail-in ballots out of here? Thank you.
True.
Did these people even watch the debate if they're coming in this late? Like, I don't know, man.
Oh, true.
You got people like rooting for you, Costello. So
We gotta get the verification mechanisms. We gotta make sure these are all like real people.
how many
True.
votes were submitted? Yeah.
Mm.
All
Well,
right. We'll cut it there. And what are the results?
all right. Let me shut it off, and I am going to end the poll now.
Oh, 33, one less. That was the USPS.
33. We got 33 votes.
34? Oh,
34 votes right under the wire. So our winner
think-
today, it is a close one. Our winner is
Oh.
Casual with 18 votes. Costello, you had a commendable 16 votes. But with
nice.
53% of the 34 votes submitted, Casual, I'll bow down to you, sir. You have won our AI debate tonight.
And like any good election winner, I will pretend like I got 100% of the votes when I'm in office. So W.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
Anyone who wants to come up, raise their hand. We'll drag you in one at a time.
Sorry for the jump scare.
You'll have 5 minutes. Then we'll see if chat wants to give you more time. All right.
Mhm.
I think I invited someone. Portil?
I saw, yeah, there you go.
Hi.
Let me know when
All right.
to start the timer. I got you.
Yeah, start now.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so
What's
am
your-
I like asking a question or
Uh,
making it?
I don't know. Some people inside chat, they had some strong feelings for our two debaters or a certain point. Was there any part in the debate that you wanted to bring up or highlight?
Yeah, I think one thing, the biggest thing in my mind is that the conversation seemed to sidestep the most important point to
What's that?
me, which was the question of whether we should be using autonomous weapons and using AI for mass surveillance, which is kind of instead of talking about that, the question is like, should government have control over AI? And I feel like that's really, it really depends on the situation. But the real important specific question here is this specific application of AI to me.
All right. I think that's directed at Casual. What do you think about mass surveillance?
I don't mean to do the pizza excuse, but I have my mouth.
Oh my
full.
God,
Would you
he's
like
doing it
marijuana?
again. You're stealing from Destiny, okay?
Do you really want
Not
America to be gay or great? Come on.
Oh my God, do that. Misspeak. I heard it too, okay?
I can take it.
Oh gosh.
No,
Um,
yeah, like have him do it first.
Okay.
Those are-
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of the focus has been like AI and Palantir for military and killing people, and it's not for killing people. It's really for intelligence. And so, you know, if you look at some of the early pacts that these AI companies made in Silicon Valley, one of them was, having a hard line on AI deciding who to kill. I really don't think that's in the cards. I think again that's been sort of media hype. What we use AI for is for gathering intelligence, right? Again, turning that engineer or that operator just into 10 times more than he used to be. And that just makes him better at his job, and then everyone in the building better at their jobs, and they can provide better stats and information, which is a big component of
Okay,
military
casual.
dominance. Yeah.
Please tell me you're done eating pizza.
Yes, I am, and
Yeah,
I think it's
okay.
just and unambiguously no. Of course, you would not want to do this. These are undemocratic things our government would do, and if our government is engaged in these things, it's because they're an undemocratic government. They are not interested
Thank you.
in the ideals of democracy. And I am just a little bit worried that like we're letting like AI even get involved in this because again, you are doing a force multiplier on bad actors in society who are by far outnumbered if we actually had like a straight election on these things, but they can pursue these policies kind of on the edges and avoid scrutiny because there isn't an election for these
Mhm.
positions in the Secretary of Defense. There isn't a direct election for people at the State Department or in the CIA or the FBI. And in a better system, we would have a Congress that's actually not abandoning its responsibility to actually hold these people accountable to the people of the United States. How long ago we have to look back to see them do that is another story, but
Poor Teal.
yeah,
What's your
we just hope to get back to that.
what's your response to that, Teal?
100% agree.
All right. Anything else you want to discuss, or is that it for the
Um,
question you had?
I could probably discuss more, but I think I could leave it at that.
All right, nice. Thanks for having. It's great having you up. All right.
Royal, what are your thoughts? Or do you have a question or comment?
Could
Yeah,
you
more of a question
reset the
for
timer?
casual. Casual, you believe that having the system gate kept by some democratic structure is good, right?
Yes, having like a gatekeeper being the like democratically elected government of the United States, yeah, I think that's like the best one we can have right now. If the European Union had like a better system that like was more accountable to the people of their I broadly think the European like Commission is like fine, but just like, if they
What
had
would
an
be the
AI program
downside
run
of
out of
having
that.
this tool outside of the control of democracy?
The downside mainly is that like it's a force multiplier in a way that like you can't catch it. So like you can have like a blissful ignorance of like, oh well, I'm pretty sure, Grok ran by run through Starlink and given these powers over self-driving cars and like in these robots, I'm pretty sure like this company is broadly in our interest. Or you can be absolutely sure that like as a mechanism it remains in your interest in the form of like liberal democracy. Right now
So
we
it's a
haven't seen
utility
like
maximizing tool, right?
or less that and more like I can always be sure that like my democratically elected government is in my interest, provided that it's like we have a thriving democracy, or like it's
What
not.
I mean,
It's not
you
like
you were right to
yeah,
describe it as a force multiplier. Right now,
yeah.
we're debating whether or not we should allow China to potentially catch up to us and or surpass us and get a hold of the gun before we do.
Yeah, and just to put it
I
in terms
completely
I'm more
agree that
familiar with,
the
sure.
gun should be gate kept, preferably behind democracy. But the question isn't whether or not that is a good or a bad idea. The question is, are we making sure that we don't let China get that gun before the US does?
Let me pose the question like back at you. Like, are we worried about a Chinese company getting that? And if we're worried about a Chinese company getting that, is it not just like a default to where it's like we're worried about the Chinese state getting access to that? Like, I'm pretty sure like anyone the world over, even if we are a world democracy, like different countries will fear us getting access to like true AI. Like
Right, but the
that's just
question
inevitable.
isn't whether
But
or
like
not
those are
we will do
enemies of
good.
democracy, and yeah.
The
uh,
question isn't whether or not we'll do good with it. The question is who will do the worst thing with it. And between the US and China, it's obviously China. And so anything that
Yes.
we do to slow us down only allows them to catch up. And they're not far behind. Arguably, they're equal to the US right now. And if we allow our position to slip because we don't like the ickiness of AI, that doesn't mean that they'll stop. We can put whatever safeguards we want in our systems, but they won't because it is in their interest to get it before we do.
Real talk with you. Like you do agree that like we're not doing everything we can to like get AI right now, right? Like there is no mobilization of our society, of our industrial base behind achieving true AI. There isn't. If
Of
there
course
is,
there
it's
is.
kind of like quietly and privately and like allocations of
It's not
capital,
even
but it's
quiet.
not like it's well,
Yeah.
We have
it's
Tesla
the
ending two
S&P
product
S&P
lines to switch
500.
over to AI. We have a shoe company deciding that they're not going to make shoes anymore because they want to make AI. We have trillions upon trillions of dollars worth of debt.
Yeah, but this isn't the Manhattan Project. This is just a bunch
You're
of
right. This is
companies like
bigger.
getting capital
This
and
is this is
they're all
empirically
it's
bigger.
more importantly, it's parallel processing. They're doing a bunch of things parallel to each other, and as a result, they're all doing the same thing. And as a result, no one gets to the thing we
Whatever
actually want them to
analogy you
do,
bring
which
up for the
get
bomb is
which
equally
AI.
true, but greater on this side because we did have countries parallel processing their bombs. China wasn't, but at the time of World War II, it was Japan, Germany, and the United States all parallel processing to get the bomb first. Now we
But these were
won.
competitors. There were competitors, and we put all of our people
Yeah,
under
but what
one roof.
happened if
We
Germany
didn't
got the
have a
bomb
team
before
in
the US?
the reason why Germany didn't get the bomb was because they were doing what you're saying, where they were parallel processing. They were going after heavy water. They were trying to explore
That's
all
not
these different
why.
things, and they didn't centralize
That
their
is
like research
historically
capacities.
inaccurate. That was not why. They were resource constrained from
And it
day
just
one, which is why they had to have a wartime economy to help get themselves out of the Great Depression. We arguably have far more invested in AI than we even could have dreamed of for the bomb. And if you think that that was some national movement, it is multiple times larger what we're doing right now for AI. So if you think that that's comparable, this is even more important.
Yeah, I would agree with
and
that.
I would get a little combative here when I would say, what do you mean by we? Like we're not in those board meetings. We're not in these like we kind of just have to take these companies' word for it because they aren't democratic institutions that are held
We,
accountable
in the
to us.
same way
Like
that we describe the government, and we do this through the marketplace of choosing to do things. We are on a platform right now that is
30
choosing to
seconds
implement
left, guys.
AI, right?
the
Everything we
only
do
thing that I
is
want to
through the
hear
market.
place is that like the scientists that made the atomic bomb had a marketplace of countries they can choose from, and they just so happened to leave the ones that was actively genociding them and like joined up with the one that wasn't. Like that's the only like market
To be clear,
dynamic that
that's
was
exactly
around the
what
atomic
happened.
bomb.
Einstein went to the US and said, "Save us all, please."
Exactly, which is what I was getting at. I was saying that like yes, the atomic bomb was like a product of
That
some
is
countries like
time.
alienating
All
their
right,
Thank
scientists.
you
that's
Like
it
very
then.
there
much.
was no market forces
I'm gonna
involved in it.
throw
I
it to
don't think.
Psych Chat. Do people want Royal to stay on for another 5 more minutes? And in the
Yeah,
meantime, Sophie, could you do a bump for digital ground game?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Honestly, like we so appreciate Destiny opening up the stage to us. It's amazing to be able to see so many people engaged in this conversation or just debate nights in general. But we are not from here. We're actually from Digital Ground Game, which is actually Destiny's political action arm, or one that he's heavily involved with. So um, that's where the cross pollination is occurring. But we are over on a whole different server. So if you want to come hang out with us, if you want to put boots on the ground for canvassing, for phone banking, for uh, call to actions every week on how you can advance the cause of liberalism in America, please join us over on Digital Ground Game. You can go to digitalgroundgame.org, or you can go to your little server, new server area, and just type in Digital Ground Game and you'll find us. The Discord specific link is discord.gg/digital ground games. Be sure you come over and hang out with us because it's nice to do all this talking and yip yapping and shit. But if you actually want to get some shit done, then come join us because we are, again, all about that political action, friends. Yeah, so if you guys want to hear Royal, and I see a note to let Royal cook. So, um, yeah, I'll give you guys another 5 minutes. Is that okay, Retro?
It seems split. We have one comment that says no with two
Oh,
emotes,
let
and
me.
one comment with yes that says two emotes. So we'll throw it again. I'll throw yes and no. React to the side chat. If you want to give them another 5 minutes.
I would have been
Okay,
the
one for
tyrant.
yes.
I would have had him stay on. Yeah.
We have one for no. We have 3 for yes.
All right.
Yes. It's going ahead. Another 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, my worry is not that the US is going to be the best steward of AI. It's that it is the better option given all the other alternatives. Now, whether or not you think the private industry or the state industry is going to be able to do it, well, you just have to look at where has all of the innovation come from. It's all come from the private sector. Even when we did our Manhattan project, sure, we gate kept it, but it was all people from outside of the government combining their resources and their intelligence to create this thing. And it's even in China, they are doing the same thing. Now, the state works hand in hand in ways that we don't do right now. And there is some sort of efficiency in terms of the input. But of course, you even agreed that in the long run, these types of like dictatorial regimes are less efficient than the free market. And I would suspect so here as an overall like description of their market activities. But if you think that they can't suck all of the resources and push forward one thing in a way that the US can't, then you're deluding yourself. They will absolutely have the ability to do this, and we need to make sure they don't beat us.
I just if they are doing that, I just don't see it, and maybe that's like a benefit of theirs. Like they're successfully like putting the wool over my eyes. But I also just think that like where we are at is in terms of LLMs, and it's just like, are we making better predictive models? And it's just like algorithms and then waiting, and that's the like, is this an atomic bomb situation, or is it like the space race where we're gonna get to do something cool at the end, but it's not gonna be like world changing? I don't know. But like, I
That's
will take your
separate
word.
from whether or
Let's
not we should
let's take
want
your
one
word
side
for it
to
and say
win.
that it's like, well, let's take your word for it and say that it's a really important thing to get our grip on. I have faith in our system of government of like putting out like the like a very like in driving towards this with like full speed ahead. And that part of that faith comes from like, I think that a democratically elected government, if presiding over the like innovation itself, like like in addition to promoting like a free and fair like open society in our academia that can pursue AI like with their full energies without
Maybe you're
worry of
looking
like
at it in the
censorship.
long
Like,
run, and we are obviously talking about a short run window here, right? So
are
like,
we?
yes, yes,
How
absolutely.
soon are we that to like true
Markets and
AI being
capitalism will
unlocked?
outcompete any dictatorial regime in the long run. But make no mistake that in the short run, these fascist types of governments can absolutely do a lot of damage, and they can destroy you or undermine you enough to where you won't win if you're not alive, right? Like it when you look at what the US has done, we have outproduced all of our competitors. But we have also done really stupid things. If you ask most people about what tariffs do to the economy, the only thing they can do is repeat talking points they've heard. Nobody really understands it, which is why we've constrained our productive capacity. And
Right.
China has absolutely been growing faster than the US has, even with their BS numbers. And so the
They've
idea that
also
they
been
couldn't suck
allocating it
dry their
probably
capital
better than we
resources to
have.
dive
Like,
into
yeah.
AI is silly. They absolutely could. The question is not whether or not AI is the be all end all. It is, are you going to allow yourself to run the risk to lose to China? Whatever tool you think is utility maximizing, you cannot allow it to be in their hands.
Then let's like look at this holistically. If we had to have a democratic government come the 2026 and 2028 elections, and I can ask you this because I think you have this interest in mind. I don't know if the other guy did. If say we, in order to have that democratic government who is going to put a stop to the tariff regime, who is going to have like a more like reliable system of like economic like incentives that can better allocate capital in the AI space, like they aren't paying tribute to the federal government on a regular basis to appease like Trump's personalistic dictatorship. Okay, say we have all that going for us, like, but the trade-off was that like part of the issues that we had to win that election was greater accountability for AI companies, and that the government would be having a increased watchdog status over it. And there might be some inefficiencies with that, but you get all the rest. You get all the policy that would actually make the market open, like make a
Does that
freer
slow us
market,
down at
have
all?
better capital allocation. I'm just wondering if what you think, if on the
If it
net,
slows
like
us
that.
down, we shouldn't be doing it. We
Wow.
20
can deal
seconds,
with the
guys.
mess that's created
I
after
kind
we
of short
win.
circuited it,
You
but yeah.
cannot try to
Oh.
slow yourself down and risk losing this. This is too important.
Can I say that Royal, I feel like he point by point reiterated every single like argument I made. He said it differently. He did it very articulately. But the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes of Royal has been I've been in a perfect agreement with the points that he made.
True. Okay. Not gonna lie. Halfway through the discussion, the vote swung the other way. I had half mine to just kick Royal off, and I thought that'd be funny as fuck. Who kicked him off? Oh no! I gotta take it all back. God damn.
That wasn't me. Oh my gosh.
But thank you, Royal, for coming up.
Thanks, Royal.
Does someone have a question for
Guy
Costello?
was kind of mogging me. I'm not gonna lie.
True, he was. He was.
Dude, he said what I said.
True.
He
Yeah,
said
but he did it more
exactly.
He did it. He did it more
exactly what I
confidently,
said.
which is like, you know, kind of L for you. Not gonna lie. He said so very confidently, and I was kind of starstruck. Not gonna
Dude, the
lie.
content didn't change. You should be embarrassed.
Maybe. I don't know. I kind of was like, I listened harder
What?
when he was up.
No one wants to talk? Ask Costello a question? Come on. You guys are saying some mad shit.
What about
Come on,
you? Ask me a
someone come with the
question.
smoke for Costello. I have
Bro,
DMs from people telling me
Everyone's
to
just
give
been
him
going
the
for
smoke.
casual.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
someone come with the smoke for this guy who said, you know,
Yeah,
True.
I'm here.
that,
Like, Royal
I'm
just
here.
came
the
in
Trump
smoke
admin has a
casual.
really great
So,
position on
we're
AI,
gonna make
by
it
the way.
even for both sides, okay? No one?
I actually wanted to know if on the net this guy would like if Royal say in chat whether or not if on net you think that like the Trump admin has a very like it's the better option for AI of the two parties right now. I'm curious about that. Like in the way they set up the economy, structure the incentives, XYZ. I'm curious about that. I would think Trump would be worse. Okay,
Yeah.
at least you acknowledge. At least you. So you do agree with my stance. You were just disagreeing on the semantics. Okay, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
I will say, I love side chat. That was such a great bit that I saw you guys flip the vote. I was literally like, should I just fucking just take him out right now?
I don't open side chat. I could be the deciding vote on so many of these.
True.
If
Well, no,
I
then
feel
one
like
guy,
I'm-
then it got
if I
even.
feel like I'm getting too smoked, I just go and be like,
No,
"Yeah,
no,
I
I have to
guess
tell you. Then it got even, and so I replied to the guy who showed me that the vote for no was greater. I'm like, oh no, looks even to me. And then he went back up and he voted, and so I was gonna go back up and vote myself. No, it still seems even to me.
Oh my god.
No one. Okay, no one for
That was
Costello.
hilarious.
Yeah, I would love
God
any
damn.
question
I
regarding
mean,
anything.
we can re-engage on this. I mean,
No,
Um,
we don't need a.
you know,
It's fine. Okay. Any questions at all? Anyone want to give their closing thoughts? Well, this will be the
I'm-
last one. So,
I'm
any closing thoughts
here.
on this debate topic?
Costello,
Yeah,
they're
yo.
not letting you. Unfortunately.
Hey, thank you, Casual, for showing up, dude.
Thank you, dude. Well, thank you for showing
Magenta,
up because
that is my favorite
I'm
color.
here mostly every week. I've just been absent for a while because I was in LA doing.
Have you seen me
petitioning.
before? Have you heard me before coming to the chat?
I
Or
think you
voice-
followed up my rounds. I've been up against like every time I was here, like there was just one guy that I
You
debated.
got one
like,
guy.
3 times in a
Oh my
row.
god, I felt so
I
bad.
did not. I did not get one guy by him. Okay, I did fine.
It was.
Okay.
I felt like it was always a massacre. I don't remember this though.
I
Oh my
mean,
God.
if
Who
you
was
think
it?
it was a massacre in my favor, then like
Well,
that'd
so
be
look,
awesome.
Royal
it?
was like primed up, and I loved it because I felt
True.
like listening to Royal, I felt like he listened to everything I said, understood it, took it in, interpreted it, and just repeated it back in all in one regurgitation. And
I mean so very respectfully. That is the cuck mindset. Dude, I would have fucked my girlfriend exactly like that, bro. But he was just doing it so much better. I just kind of
no,
let
I
him
didn't say he
go.
did it better.
Like-
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yo.
He had to listen
yeah,
to me for 30
He's in the
minutes first.
chair, y'all.
One
Jesus
second, one
Christ.
second.
Yeah, he got to
Hold.
see you like not bring her to climax, and then he came in there, immediately
I'm
had
you.
my
Okay,
attention.
calm down. 1 second. Yeah,
my
the
God.
debate is over unless anyone else wants to come up and give a comment. There's a lot of people talking in side chat about the debate and how it went, so I'm just giving people a little time to speak their grievances. Kermit, hello.
Oh, I love Kermit.
This will be the last one for tonight, though.
All right,
been
give it
great.
to me.
Okay, well, I'll just. Now he's out.
All
That's a
right.
way to end it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right.
I can tell that guy was ready to engage.
You
in
know, he had it
political
loaded.
action.
Like the way that Royal had it loaded to smoke you, so. Okay. All right. That's all for tonight. same time, same place next week. Any closing thoughts, Sophie?
No, I think that was good. I would love if you guys have any feedback for us to uh, make sure you go to Digital Ground Game server and add us, talk to us, let us know if you like this format because we are actually reverting back to how we kind of used to do it. So it's a
True.
little bit more structured. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
in.
See y'all next week. Bye.
Bye. Alrighty. Thanks for watching.